Hi, this video is to give students in CS3005 a little bit of a view of how to get started on the first assignment using tools like Git and Grind. So I'm going to start by going into Canvas for our course and looking at the first assignment. And in the first assignment, we're supposed to create a repository for the source code using Git. I'm going to use the link that's right here in the assignment description. And you can see that I have a repository that's created for me, just like you would if you went to that link. I'm going to click on the link here. Which goes to another page. And there is my repository. I am going to clone the repository to my local computer. We talked about this in class, but I'm going to copy that URL. I'm using SSH. You might be using HTTPS. I will go to a terminal, and I want to use a directory in my system called inside of my home directory, inside of courses, called cs3005 demos. Now, depending upon your operating system, this location might be on your C drive if you're in Windows, or somewhere else on a Mac, or on your if you're using Linux natively. But it needs to be a folder that you can CD to and use and get to again and again. I then do a git clone. That will download the starter project for me. I do a listing, I can see my project, I can go inside of it. There's a source directory that was created for me, and that source directory started with a few files in it. Now these files are extra because in class, as you might recall, we actually implemented the first parts of the assignment for part 1. And so there are all the files. For example, image menu.h has all of the content that I needed according to the assignment description. Image menu CPP has my content. Let's see, what else do we have here? ppm menu CPP also has my content that it's required, and I have a make file that has all my content that's required. Meanwhile, the hello.cpp we don't need, so I'm just going to get rid of it. If I do a status with Git, I see that because I deleted that file, I need to make sure Git knows that I wanted to get rid of it. I need to actually say git add-a dot to add the deletion of hello to my to be committed tasks. I can commit that, and if I do a git push, that code will go up to the cloud. Now that's just a little bit of getting started. I can use make to compile my program and to run it. My favorite color is teal. My favorite integer happens to be 13, and my favorite number is probably 3.1415. And I can see that the program appears to work according to the assignment instructions. I'm assuming that you can get to the assignment instructions like I can and read through here to see what was required and that those requirements are met. Okay. Now that only gets me part way though, because in addition to having the source code written and in Git, I actually need to make sure it passes all of the unit tests. So I'm going to come back here in Canvas, go to the unit tests for week 1, and I see some instructions here. If this were my first time to use Code Grinder this semester, I would read carefully these instructions that say I have to download and install the Grind tool. I happen to have already done that. I'm on a Linux machine, or it would be the same if I was on a Windows 10 machine using Bash for Windows. I would click here and follow these instructions to install grind and make it available. I've already done it, so I'm not going to do it again. If you're on a Mac, you would do it this way. If you're on Windows, you should be using, for this course, Bash for Windows, so you should only use this version or this version for our class. My first time logging in this semester after installing grind, I would copy and paste this command into a terminal. Copy, paste. Looks like I've logged in successfully. That login code there is only good for a few minutes, so if you need to, refresh the page to get a new token before doing it. Okay, now that I'm logged in, I can use grind in order to test my code. And so I come back up for the unit 1, or the unit test for week 1, and see this grind get command. And that number out there will be different for each one of us, but I will type grind get 1. Oops, I have a problem right away. I was in the wrong directory when I did that, so I put all this code grinder stuff in my Git repository, Git tree, and I don't want it there. So I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to go back up a couple of levels. So now I'm in a directory that's at the same level as my repository, and this is where I'm going to actually do that grind get. So now I have two directories here. I've got the one that has my source code, that's my full project for the semester, and then I've got this directory here that is for code grinder work, just to do the unit tests. If I go into that directory and do a listing, I see that for the first assignment there is a folder. I go into that one and do a listing here, and I can see there is an image menu H and image menu CPP, but they have 0 size. These are empty because code grinder says it knows I need those files, but it doesn't know what my content is. Now I actually made my content in the other folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy from that other folder image menu.cpp into this directory and image menu.h into this directory. Notice that it did not copy ppm menu.cpp. If you did, make sure you remove it. It should not be here. So now if I do a listing, I've got image menu H and image menu CPP here. At this point, if I had followed the instructions on the class website underneath the syllabus, right here, I would have followed these notes for installing Google Tests, and I would have Google Test already installed. I've done that, so I can say make test on my computer system in this directory here for code grinder, and it will run all of the unit tests for whatever step I'm on inside of code grinder. The step I'm on looks like is the get string test step, and so it looked like in the output here that all of the unit tests passed correctly. So I should be able to say grind grade and send my code off to the code grinder server. I have it test all of my code, and if there's no problems, it'll move me on to the next step. And see how it did? It moved me to step 2 for this assignment. Now I'll do a make test, which will test my code against the next round of unit tests, which are all those for the get integer function. Looks like those pass, so I'll do a grind grade again. Okay, looks like those passed, so I'll do a make test again to do a test against the next round of tests, which include not only get string and get integer, but the get double function. Those passed locally with that make test command, so I'll do a grind grade to get credit for them. Goes and copies my files to the servers. Everything was fine. So everything's been going along really, really good. Let me intentionally break some code here. I'm going to go into my editor, and underneath the Git repository, I'm going to go into image menu CPP, and I'm going to do something that is pretty common, a lot of people did, which is have my assignment1 function return 0 instead of the integer number given by the user. And then I'm going to go back over here to my unit tests. And now since I made a change to my master copy of these files, I will want to copy them into my code grinder area again and do make test. Okay, make test will try to rebuild my code as well as the unit test and run it. Now I see that I get several errors here, and 5 tests failed. The one that was working on the assignment1 function that is named gives return value displays 1 loop, displays 2 loops, displays many loops, and displays no negative loops. So all of those are tests that I failed. This here is just a summary. I need to scroll back up to see the unit tests as they run. So all of those were correct, all of those were correct, all of those are correct. So up through get double, everything's looking good. Now when I start testing my assignment1 function, assignment1 displays prompts was okay. So the prompts all got displayed correctly. But assignment1 gives a return value, gave me a failure. In the tests, unit test source code, on line 55 of this test 0104 assignment 1, I failed where I expected to get a 3, but I got a 0 back. So the unit test didn't get back what it expected from the assignment 1 function. Let's go look at that test 0104 assignment 1 line 55. I'm going to go back to my editor here. And remember the unit tests under this folder here, under that folder. And then the tests themselves are in this folder. And we're looking at the test 0104 assignment1.cpp. And I want to go to line 55, which is right here. A 3 was expected, but M response was 0. Okay, so M response, if I trace it back, comes from the assignment1 function's return value. So assignment1 returned to 0 when something else was expected, a 3 in this case. If I go back and reread the assignment descriptions, the assignment description says the assignment1 function blah 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 returns the integer number given by the user. So it shouldn't return a 0, it should return whatever the user said their favorite integer was. So let me go back to my editor and back to my Git repository for my master source code inside of image menu CPP and put that back to what we know the right answer should be, which is whatever the user said their favorite integer was, that's what we should be returning. Okay, I fixed the code inside of my Git repository. Over here, I'm back inside of the code grinder area. I'm going to copy that code, the changes from my Git repository into the grind area. Do a make test again. This time, all of the tests pass, so I'll do a grind grade to send my final version of my code off to Code Grinder. Looks like Code Grinder is happy with that. If I were to jump into Canvas, I would expect to see a 1 for the unit test for this assignment. Looks like I've completed them successfully. Alright, my final step in completing this assignment would be to go back up to this top level directory that includes both my Code Grinder and my Git repository. I'm going to go into my Git repository, do a git status command, and I see that this file has been created, but that's the executable file. I don't want it, so I don't have any changes that I need to commit, and looks like I'm done with this assignment because I pushed my latest good source code out. Okay, and that's all there is to it. Hopefully you have all of the grind commands and the git commands you need to make things work.